Hey, hello, hello, hello. It is another week of She Woke Up Dreaming. I'm so excited. We talked about so much last week. Very intro to writing last week, right? We talked about um, clearly defining our intentions. We talked about different types of publishing options. We talked about the benefits of publishing, benefits of book coaches and writing coaches. And so today we are getting into the writing aspect. Um, I'm excited. I also I posted a workshop. I talked about that last week that I am hosting virtually on the 17th. And you guys showed up like I'm completely sold out. All 30 seats are taken. Um, I added 10 more seats this morning. By this afternoon, they were gone. So I have 30 slots. They're all filled. I'm thinking about adding a little bit more. But that's for our authors who are ready to start designing. They say, hey, I think I can do this on my own. I think I can um, navigate this. And I want to show them how to do that through using a tool that lots of people use, which is Canva. And I'm not going to jump into that because that's not why we're here today. We're here today to talk about publishing. And what did I say we were talking about on this episode? We got several things to cover, y'all. Okay. So we are talking about establishing realistic timelines and deadlines, successful accountability, that old cuss word accountability, um, identifying your creative space, because that's very important to your writing process and you actually moving forward with your writing and being consistent with it, creating the right atmosphere. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to discuss what planned versus pocket writing is. Some people may have heard pocket writing simply is something like sporadic writing. We'll talk about what that is, how to utilize that to our advantage, and then we're going to talk about some writing strategies. So listen, today is jam packed with information to get you started, to set you up so that you create the right atmosphere when it's time for you to write, when it's time for you to produce. You may not be looking to write a novel, you may not be looking to write a textbook, but you might want to write a journal. You may want to do a guided journal. You may want to do a gratitude journal. You may want to do a workbook, a coloring book, all of these things that we're going to discuss over this next month. All of these things are relevant to each and every aspect of writing. You can take what you need from it and apply it. And so today, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm gonna get started here. Our first portion that we want to discuss is establishing realistic timelines and deadlines. Realistic, okay? When I say realistic, I mean things that are actually attainable. Um, and some people are not honest with themselves. They have these great hopes and dreams, which is wonderful. We want to dream, we want to have hopes, we want to have aspirations, but we need to be realistic when it comes down to the timelines and the time frames and the amount of time we're giving ourselves to prepare for this. So, number one, we have to be honest again with ourselves. And so, to start off, before you can set a timeline, we're going to look at that deadline aspect. Okay, we want to set a date that we are wanting to roll this project out. What is the day that we want our book to launch? We want our project to launch. And so when you set that date, that's our big date. Okay. That's the one that sits, that we are moving towards. So our timeline will flow towards our deadline. Okay. So we're taking the timeline. We're taking our deadline and we're giving ourselves plenty of time prior to the deadline to complete the task and to do this in excellence. Um, it depends on how much time you want to give yourself to write your project. If this is something that's very detailed and you have to, some people are writing autobiographies, they're going into some sensitive areas. And as you write, it takes you back. You start experiencing the things that you um, are writing about, and it takes a little bit more time to produce. So you want to give yourself space for creativity, but you also want to give yourself space so that you're not rushed. And so once you set your deadline, now you will then take your deadline and you will break it up into pieces. Okay. This is how you set your timeline. One of the things that is very, very, very important when it comes down to your timeline is you give yourself detail. Okay. You set specific things that are due during each and every phase of the timeline. If you're working on a book and it has 10 chapters, you say, okay, I have 12 months to write this project out. I'm going to give myself 3 weeks to complete each chapter. And so on your timeline, you would put chapter one. And then under chapter one, you would then put the date that it's due. Um, and so forth and so on. Chapter two, the date that is due. You would do each of those things. You would put it down so that you are accountable to yourself. And so we talked about last week having a writing coach and the benefits of having a writing coach, and also the benefits of having a book coach, which they're very similar. Having someone help you through the process, they will keep you on track towards reaching that big deadline and also your timeline goals. Okay. And that's super important because you want to stay on track. The last thing you want to do is wait and procrastinate. And then all of a sudden you get to where I guess in your timeline you have set that, okay, I want to be at chapter 5 in 4 months, and you're at chapter 2 because you haven't hit your goals. And so being accountable to yourself and creating visible timelines are super important. What I suggest you do, and what I do with my clients, is I provide them with a timeline and I put everything on that timeline. I upload it so that they can print it out and they can see it. I don't know if you see behind me, I have this calendar and I live by a calendar. If it is not on my calendar, I probably am not going to remember. So, just like a calendar is important to your everyday life, a timeline and deadlines are super important to a project that you are adding to your everyday life. Okay. And so, again, if you do not have a coach, or you do not have um, you don't have a coach or a writing coach, what I would suggest you do is find an accountability partner. Okay. Accountability partners are, mm, they're important. They are the ones that are going to call you to the carpet when you don't produce, like you say. If they notice that you're getting stuck, they'll help you in those areas. And so you want to find an accountability partner that, first of all, you respect, and one that knows how to speak to you and provoke you into action. Um, this person is also someone that is able to, you should let them know your strengths, your weaknesses. You should communicate with them all of your timeline and your deadlines for your book. Just so you have someone to report to. Let's think about working out. Okay. A lot of us say we're going to the gym. We start off going, and we going by ourselves. Okay, I'm speaking to myself. You start off going by yourself, and then all of a sudden you stop. Things happen, it slows you down. You start sleeping in, you start finding other things to do, life becomes busy. and it just kind of dissipates. And so now, if you had an accountability partner, you knew that person would be waiting for you at the gym. You knew that person would be waiting for you to show up. And so that's what you need when you have when you're writing. You need someone that you can be accountable to, so that when you are slacking off, when you do start having times that life is so busy and you don't have the time to produce the way you thought you did, and we'll talk about how to utilize time later, you will be able to have that person help check you and get you back in order. It's very important. Very, very, very important that we do that. You want to do that so that you create the right space to write. You want to not overwhelm yourself with trying to complete the whole thing at one time, but to give yourself space and to give yourself opportunity to produce in sections so that you can do it in excellence. And so that accountability partner is super, super, super important. And again, I love to have an accountability partner, but I also love a good coach. A coach can speak to you in a way that other people can't. Okay, let's think about a football field. I'm not a big football fan, my husband is, but I've seen it where the coach has the players on the field, calls them out the field, and they're talking to them on the sidelines. They're in their face. They're speaking to them in a way that everybody else couldn't. Nobody else could talk to them the way that their coach is talking to them, but their coach knows how to get them in action. And so your accountability partner will be that one that can call you into a place where they can get you into action and moving towards your goal. And so another part that is very important, and this is the part that I'm really big on environment. Like, we're getting ready to write, okay? You're getting ready to write, and this is the part that most people overcomplicate. They take this part and they overcomplicate it, and it causes them to get overwhelmed, and they just don't start. They stress about how to start, they stress about where to start. They have excuses like life is too busy. I have children. Listen, y'all, I have 5 children. I have a whole husband. I have a full-time job. I'm building my publishing company. I have a journal company, DreamPad. Your DreamPad, simple plug. Go over there. There's some journals and devotionals and things of that sort there. Um, and I have a speaking platform like this. So I'm preparing for different things. But if I am supposed to produce a book, if God has laid it on my heart to write and to produce, I can't use all those things I just listed as an excuse. I have to prioritize and I have to strategize to make sure that I accomplish what I'm setting out to do. And so, how do you do that? How do you make time in a very, very busy, busy world? Y'all, how do you make time when life is happening? And we'll talk about that later, when we talk about planned versus pocket writing time. And when you take advantage of that, then you'll realize you have more time than you really think you do. So what I want to do right now is I want to just talk about creating this space. Okay, you see that on the screen. Identifying your creative space. And so when you get in your creative zone, when you get in that space that it's just flowing out of you like water, how do you know? Um, how you don't even realize that you're producing, but how do you know how to identify that? So I want you to think about this. What is the ideal environment? And that's what I'm talking about when I say creative space. What is the ideal environment for your creativity to flow in? Just like plants, like vegetables, they need suitable climate and soil to grow optimally. We need the same thing to produce these epic ideas that we have in our heads. We need that. So, how do we do that? I want you to identify this by one, evaluating your day. So I want you to figure out what time or times, because you can do this in several stages, what time or times of the day you are most clear and alert. Like, what time of day Are you fresh and vibrant? Is your mind awake and alert? And you feel your absolute creativity flowing the best? How do you identify that? For me, it's the morning. Oh my gosh, early mornings are my thing. It's quiet. I come in my space. I have certain lighting. I have certain music. I have certain things that I do, but it creates a space for my creativity to flow uninterrupted. Oh my gosh, peaceful. It's quiet. And I can download everything that I dreamt about, everything that I was thinking about before. It just starts to flow out of me easily. So evaluate, take the time to evaluate your day. What time of day are you most alert and clear? That may be a key indicator. That might be the time that I need to set aside some minutes. I might, maybe only 20 minutes is all I have, but I'm going to set aside those 20 minutes to write, to type, whatever works for you, to speak. Um, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. There are different ways to capture your book. You don't have to always sit down with a pen and a paper or sit down at a computer and type it away. There are other ways for you to capture your book and continue to progress towards meeting your dates on your timeline. Another thing is your environment is everything. So, one of the things that, like I told you guys, I sit in my space and it's quiet. I listen to instrumental music, or I can be in complete silence and I could have a do you need a candle lit? Like, do you need to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee to get these ideas out of your head? When are you most relaxed and free? That is a good time to write because you're clear, you've relaxed, you've released everything that you were carrying, and now you can sit down and get these amazing epic ideas out of your head. You also have to determine how many days you can commit. And so this is something else that trips up a lot of people. They think they need hours a day to write. You don't. You really don't. You just have to commit to writing. What you have to commit to is choosing a time of day, choosing a length of time to write, and committing to do that every day. If all you have is 3 mornings a week to work on your manuscript 3 days a week, but give it your all. Uninterrupted time. Close the door. Put your phone on do not disturb and get those ideas done. If you become committed to the times that you have, you'll be able to produce exactly what it is that you're looking for. Also, um, another thing that you can do is decide in advance what you are going to do when you have these random times. So this is where I was talking about planned versus pocket times, pocket writing times. So planned times are exactly what it says. I have decided that on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I am sitting down from 7 a.m. to 7:45 and I am working uninterrupted on my project. Those are my dates. Those are the days I'm sticking to. Those are the days I'm committing to. I am writing it down on my calendar. I am putting it, if you're a person that needs it on their phone, you're plugging it into your phone. All these things, you're utilizing your resources to your advantage so you have no excuse. Okay? Um, and then you designate those clusters of time and you do a deep dive into your project and you literally work. You work and you work and you focus on what it is that you're trying to do. Now, these pocket writing moments, or other people call it sporadic writing, it's these random clusters of time that just show up. They just pop up like popcorn. Like all of a sudden, you didn't know you had a gap in your day and now you have 30 minutes of free time. And again, you say, oh, wow, I got 30 minutes of time. I'm sitting in a doctor's office in a waiting area. I'm sitting in the carpool line waiting for my kids. I'm at a restaurant alone. I thought somebody was going to come and they canceled out on me. Now I have some time to myself, eh, but I don't have my computer. Okay, that's not an issue. You have a phone. You have a memo pad. You're not a person that likes to write and type. You have voice memo on your phone, and you can dictate to your phone. You can dictate into your phone exactly what it is that you're speaking for that particular chapter, for that moment, for those ideas that are coming up. And so there's no excuse. You have everything that you need, even in the planned and the sporadic or pocket moments that pop up in your life. So, what I suggest you do is predetermine what you're going to do during those times. What are you going to do during these pocket and planned moments? So, the planned moments, we're definitely working on our project. We are deep diving in however many days we set. That's the amount of time that we're using. But on these pocket times, we're going to do one better. We are going to pre plan what we are going to do when those moments pop up. Whether it's maybe it's not you. Writing at that time, maybe you're reviewing what you've already written. And so, how do you access that? We all have phones. Okay. I know I keep saying phones, but we do. We all have phones. And what you can do is you use all these shared drives. You have Google Drive, you can create a Google Doc and pop your manuscript in there. If you have Apple, you can use iCloud, store it there so that you can access it from wherever you are. You use Microsoft, use your OneDrive. Again, no excuses um, why we are not being committed to working on the project that you said that you wanted to work towards. My little ring light tried to go out, y'all. So that's one of the things that I think is super important. If you pre-plan, you'll be ready. And so how are you ready? Because you're utilizing these resources, these cloud services, these different things of that sort. If you're one that wants to write, you don't know how many. I was listening to a I don't know if it was a TED talk or whatever, but they were talking about, it was this lady and she wrote so many amazing ideas. And guess where she did it? At a restaurant on the back of a napkin. Utilize what you have. Utilize what you have because it's worth it. It's worth it. Um, and so next, what I want to talk about next is writing strategies. Oh my goodness, writing strategies. We talked a little bit about one of them last week. We talked about brain dumps. Okay. And so that's brain dumping where you take everything that's in your head and you just get a piece of paper. You get I don't know, not a piece of paper, if it's your laptop, if it's your tablet, whatever, you grab that and you just pop it on the paper. Nothing is off limits. Everything that's in your head, you're taking it to a piece of paper. And then later on, you would take off the ones that you're not going to use. And then you would be able to narrow down on the concepts that you want to utilize in your book. The next one that you can utilize is called mind mapping or branching. Think about a tree, okay? The tree and how the stem, like the trunk of the tree, okay, and then you have the branches that go out. When you talk about mind mapping and branching, you literally are having your main idea, and each branch that goes out is a new concept based on that centralized idea. So what you would do is, that's how usually what ends up happening is that particular branch would probably become a chapter in your story, your manuscript. It could be one of the pages in your journal. It could be a page in your workbook. And so that you would then use those and you would develop the concepts per branch. Okay, the next one is free writing. This is what I utilize for those that are get overwhelmed in the beginning. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to start. okay, when I start with chapter 1, it overwhelms me, so I need to start, and I'm trying to dump, but I can't do that, and they have all these excuses because they're getting overwhelmed because they're thinking about the whole process. Don't do that. Do free writing. Just go ahead and just write it out. To alleviate the pressure, just write. Don't worry about anything else. Just write. Get the thoughts out of your head and onto paper. And once that happens, your coach can help you take it from there. And then the last one that is utilized to start writing is sketching, or like I like to call it blueprinting, which is an outline. Okay, this is where you take the concepts and then you start structuring the ideas, and you use that. You put the main idea down, and then you have bullet points for each concept or chapter that needs developing. And so by then, you are creating a blueprint for the content for your book. And this ensures a more cohesive and organized writing plan. If you are one that is very structured and you need to know where to go from point A to point B, sketching, blueprinting, whichever one you want to call it, outlining, is the way to go. I consider a blueprint as something that builders use. Builders use blueprints before they're drawn up. They know exactly where everything is before they go in and start actually implementing the plan. And so that's what you do when you are doing the blueprinting and outlining. And so thank you guys. That's pretty much what I wanted to leave with you today. I have created a document for you to be able to start brainstorming and also be able to start working towards what it is that you are trying to do. Don't get overwhelmed. It's no reason to. Get the book out of your head. And once you do that, trust me, it'll be all worth it. So there's a PDF that I'm dropping in the chat. Let's see. Dropping it in the chat. This light is cutting up. Okay. And it should, if you click on this link, it will take you to where you can download a PDF that gives you the overview that we talked about last week and the one from this week. And it'll help you develop your concepts and ideas to get started writing. This next link I'm popping in here is for a free downloadable devotional and guided journal that I did called Dream Awake. And it's an 8-day devotional that is there to help you identify dream killers and stop them in their path. Because a lot of times we don't realize the things that are coming against us and we don't know how to combat them. But if you identify them, then they won't be a weakness because you know that it's there and that is trying to come at you. And I want to take a moment. I don't know if there are any questions in the chat about anything that we talked about today. And if not, like I said, go ahead, click on those links so you can download those. Both of those tools are very helpful. And again, I'm so excited about this Crushing It with Canva workshop that is happening on October 17th. You guys showed up and showed out. All 30 seats are taken. I don't know, I might add another couple seats just so you guys can get in the room. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And thank you again for joining tonight. What I would advise is you be here next week. Next week, we're going to start talking a little bit more about the publishing process and what it looks like once you get started, once you get in there. We're also going to go over in the next coming weeks, we're going to go over pricing. I know that is something that someone inboxed me about, asking, oh my gosh, how much does it cost? I know publishing is expensive. I'm going to give you some tips on that as well, because sometimes it can be, okay? I'm going to be honest, it can be, but it doesn't have to be if you utilize your resources well. So be sure, stay tuned to my website. You can visit ebonysbailey.com. And there you can have access to my publishing company, Purposely Booked. You can also go ahead and stream lots of the other episodes of She Woke Up Dreaming from the other 2 seasons. There's some amazing women that are on there. But for now, I want to say thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening.